Scott Galloway, if you guys don't remember, is that white man who's going around talking about like saving men. He's trying to be the new Jordan Peterson. I dislike his work. I think it's incredibly reductive, and I think it is lacking like intersectionality so deeply. And though he tries very hard to admit that women have been oppressed over all of these years because of patriarchy, he just doesn't understand why men are suffering, even though he thinks he does. And that's kind of the problem. So here we go. Here's Therese explaining her issues with Scott Galloway. Let's see if we agree or disagree.
I need Scott Galloway to go away.
Go away.
Scott has a new book making the rounds, Notes on Being a Man. And like much of his commentary around men and boys, it is filled with contradictions, half-truths, and a whole lot of misplaced blame. It's just the same patriarchy rebranded as male self-help. Galloway argues that men today are floundering. This we know to be true. This is not news. He paints a familiar picture. Men falling behind in school, struggling with depression and loneliness, disappearing from the labor market, et cetera, and opting out of relationships. Now, Galloway claims he's not a red pill guy. He doesn't shout into a podcast mic about alpha males and body count. He doesn't scream at women on the internet. But he does think that it's women's responsibility to help men. The heart of his argument is what he calls the three-legged stool of masculinity.
So let me get to what I think are sort of the three legs of the stool of basically of masculinity. Provider, protector, and procreator.
Protect, provide, procreate. How original. According to Galloway, this is the foundation of manhood. A man should keep people safe, he should earn money, he should raise a family.
And I think a lot of young men are lacking a certain code. And I think masculinity in an aspirational format can serve as that code.
Oh,
I think the three legs of the stool are being a provider. I think a man needs to be economically viable. But the whole point of prosperity, the whole shooting match, is such that you can move to protection. The moments you feel most at home with your masculinity are when your kids are safe. Procreation. I think it's wonderful. I think we need to stop pathologizing men's desire to have romantic and, quite frankly, sexual relationships, because that fire can be translated into wonderful things.
But what?
I really don't like this man. I really don't like him. You know what I'm saying? Deconstruct gender and this role that male masculinity or any type of masculinity has to be this way. Like, girl.
When do you think the shift happened?
I think it's a lot of things. If you look at the point of failure for when a boy comes off the tracks, is when he loses a male role model. And we have the second most single-parent homes in the world. And what's interesting is that a girl in a single-parent home, and let's be honest, so is the mom. 88% of single-parent homes, it's the mom. The girl has the same outcomes, same rates of college attendance, same rates of income. A boy, when he loses a male role model at that moment, becomes more likely to be incarcerated than graduate from college. What the data shows is that while boys are physically stronger, they're emotionally and neurologically and mentally much weaker.
Oh, yeah.
That has been debunked so many times. It is because of patriarchy. Patriarchy allows men to stay stupid and still gives them like trophies. Women are not allowed to do that. Like, women can't do it for our survival alone. That's why I say the hero narrative is a myth created by patriarchy to make mediocre men feel good about themselves. I'm a hero because I paid my bills. Girl, I'm not a hero because I make money for my family. That's the myth. Men get to be their providers and make money for their families and be heroes. But when I make money for my family, I'm not a hero. And by the way, I wouldn't want to be. I'm not a hero because I'm a responsible adult paying my bills. That doesn't make me a hero. It makes me literally like basic expectation of behavior. Like the bar is so low that basic behavior is like, whoa, oh my God, amazing. No.
He also blames single motherhood and fully admits that women and girls are more resilient than boys and men.
And also, do you think these women are the ones taking away these male role models? The male role models don't want to show up. And or, yes, we have to go back to why people are settling in relationships and the fact that we are evolved animals over billions of years. So we do have a tendency, or millions of whatever, to have a tendency to settle in relationships and have sex without condoms and to have sex without protection. And then these men don't even want to date these women. The moment I ask a man for his STI testing, he goes, I'm not doing that. You know how many men over my lifetime has said, like, I'm not wearing a condom. I don't want to get tested. It's like, girl, and then I get it. We've all been sloppy, messy. Okay. So then you engage, you get pregnant, and then what? Okay. So again, I think this idea that like, oh, like these, like boys need male role models. I love that. Why are they sticking around? Why aren't they there then? And then even if you are, you still have to model. Okay, you still have to do it. Listen, I love my father and I'm glad he was there. But also my father did neglect, because he was busy working. He was always busy. in sitting down each of his 8 boys and having very strong and important conversations with them over what is healthy masculinity. Like, again, it's not just that, okay, good, my dad did the bare minimum. He was a present father. He worked. He like provided all that stuff. That's great. I love that. And also, he did not take the time to really sit down because there was no time, because he had 10 kids, because they're religious and he works 6 days a week. Like, again, like, I feel like people are forgetting that it's not just being in the home that's important, though that's a huge leg up. It's also sitting with your boys and explaining to them. Okay. So I remember when Andrew Tate, my brother started liking Andrew Tate, some of them, and my dad was like, why do you guys like Andrew Tate? He's a horrible person. And I was like, for the same reason you kind of like Jordan Peterson. Like, you guys are so eager for these male role models, and you guys can't actually have a thought in your head that doesn't take everything into offense. Like, I provided food for you. Okay, well, what else? It's like, what else is there? It's like, you guys do like literally the bare minimum, and you're like, there, I'm amazing. It's like, yes, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm happy to give you compliments. And also, we have to keep growing and deconstructing and da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? It's just like so frustrating.
But doesn't understand that that's a problem.
The best thing we could do for men, because men need relationships. They need it more than women. There's this cartoon of a woman in her 30s who didn't find romantic love and is now living with cats. The reality is she's fine. Yeah. When women don't have a relationship, they pour that energy into their friends and their work. When a man doesn't have a relationship, he pours it into conspiracy theory, porn, and misogyny.
Okay, first of all, that's true. But also, that's because women are pouring it into our community. Men just need to pour it into their community. They don't need to be in relationships. They need to pour it into community, which is a relationship. Men don't need female partners. They need community. Hello?
I think the public policy that would benefit men the most is universal child.
No, chat says Scott Galloway oversimplifies the issue. It's not men versus women. It's everyone versus capitalism. It is reductive to think that in a non-capitalistic world, we still wouldn't have racism and misogyny. Capitalism is separate from patriarchy. They go in hand, but even in socialized or communist countries, we would still be dealing with racism and patriarchy. Okay? To say that it's us versus capitalism, no, it is not. And so, like, again, capitalism sucks. It is a problem. It needs to be deconstructed. But, like, that's the issue, is like, it is all of the problems. All of the problems need to be deconstructed, right?
Childcare.
Oh, wait, so now we're in favor of universal childcare. We're in favor of universal childcare because it will help men. Interesting.
Exactly. Oh, but that's the thing. Under patriarchy, you have to brand everything at men, just like when it comes to Black issues. You have to brand it towards white people for anyone to do anything, and that's because of racism and misogyny. Listen, the fact that I have to work so hard to get you on board by making it a you problem is the racism misogyny. The fact that you just won't support it because it will help people who aren't you is the racism misogyny. That's the problem. That's literally, it's in the work. You should be doing the right thing, even if it doesn't benefit you, even though it will benefit you, by the way. It will literally benefit you. Benefiting women, helping Black people, helping minorities will benefit everybody. But that shouldn't be the reason you're doing it. You should be doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Also blames single motherhood. He admits that women and girls are more resilient than boys and men, but he doesn't seem to have an issue with that. He never asks why. Why are women so much more resilient than men? And what can we do to make men as resilient as women? And I will give him this one small, teeny tiny amount of credit. He does encourage men to show up with kindness, responsibility, and self-discipline.
Sure. As does Jordan Peterson, by the way. Jordan Peterson is infamously an Andrew Tate hater. Jordan Peterson hates Andrew Tate. He thinks he's narcissistic and violent and disgusting. And yet, right, they all end up still being on the more red pill adjacent side, the more conservative side, right? Chad says, I don't mean to say that sexism wouldn't exist without capitalism, but more so that these problems can't be solved under capitalism, that's all. Well, none of these problems will be solved, period, ever the end. Like, I just want you to be abundantly, I want to be transparent. I don't think any of these problems will ever be solved ever as long as humans exist. Because human beings are the problem. It is literally the way that we create babies, millions of babies, we can't process, we can't educate people fast enough. It will never happen. Even if you eradicated all human beings and started again from scratch, it would repeat itself. Like, we are inherently the problem. So all we can do is work on getting systems to work better. And inherently, like, I want to dismantle these things, but it's us. Like, we are inherently the problem. And the problem is, like, we're not acknowledging that. It's not us, groups of people. It's us human beings as a species, right? And so like, I think there's like a problem. That's why I say, like, again, I want you to deconstruct it for your own personal life first, and then understand how it out. Like, I made this video over on my podcast channel about provider relationships. And because the internet, like, provider relationships is a very specific niche of content, specifically about how men need to be providers. And people were like, but Brittany, you are the provider in your family. I'm not the provider. Because that says in some ways that my partner is less than because of what they don't provide. We are both providers. To call provider partnerships the person who makes the money is to discount the providing that the other partners do in the relationship. That's why I don't call myself a provider, because it is a hierarchical construct that puts me above my partner, which is bad. Your partner is not above or below you. Providers are not better than the other partners because they're providers. So when you play into this concept of provider, you are literally playing into misogyny. That's why Scott Galloway is trash as well. Because for him to say that men need to be providers, we're all providers. Either all of us are providers or none of us are providers. But we're all providing something. That's what being in a relationship should be. Hello?
If they had that, there wouldn't be a problem. But the crux of the issue, what makes Scott Galloway just as dangerous as the Red Pill Bros, is that while he acknowledges the fact that men need relationships, not just for connection, but to
I do not think men need romantic relationships. I think all of us need connection to people, but we do not need romantic relationships. We need connection to community.
ground them, to serve as guardrails for their lives and for their behavior. The problem is that he doesn't have a problem with that. And that is where my issue with him lies. Because what he's really saying is that men can't function unless women are there to do the emotional labor of
Amen, amen, amen. Love you, Therese.
keeping them
Exactly.
afloat. He wants women to be the safety net, the stabilizer, the therapist, the accountability system.
Yep.
And he sees no issue with that.
Yep.
He wants to outsource male development to women, and he's calling this healthy masculinity. And I
Exactly.
don't understand why he's never been challenged on this point. He was on a panel full of women on The View, panel full of 4 or 5 women, and not one of
These women are liberal and misogynistic inherently. I used to watch The View religiously for funsies because, like, I was really into having, even though I watch a bunch of shit, it doesn't mean that I support it. It just means I watch it because there's something that hits my brain in a good way. I used to watch The View religiously because something in it used to hit my brain in a good way until I saw the episode about the D-Day. Was it D-Day? What was that infamous picture from where the guy grabs the nurse or the woman and he kisses her? Anyways, it was a big conversation about consent. And they were like, oh, it's not a consent violation. I was like, it is a consent violation. And I'm too progressive for this. You know what I mean? So that was years ago now. But the point is like, I can watch people that I don't always agree with because I'm like jumping into the bubble. But I was getting tired of the content. I was like, I'm tired of you. And The View, it was never supposed to be progressive. It was always supposed to be, quote, different views from different people. But like, let's be real. No serious conversation is happening on The View.
them brought this up. He is never challenged on this. It is the same patriarchal logic that we've been using for centuries. Galloway insists that he is against men dominating and controlling women, but the solutions that he proposes, getting men into marriages, making sure they become fathers, these
Yep.
solutions are
Yep.
still rooted in a traditional model of masculinity.
Yes, it is. And that's the problem. How can you say, oh, I acknowledge what women have been through, but also what if we use the model we've always done, but make it look better? You know what I mean? Like, what if we take patriarchy, but upgrade it? Will it be okay then? No. Nothing about patriarchy is good. So if your only solution is let's upgrade patriarchy to be better, no. Same with capitalism. No, there is no upgrading you can do to capitalism to make it better. It is just bad. It is bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. Bad. Yes, Chad. Victory Day, WW2, World War II picture. Thank you. Thank you.
Masculinity that requires women to carry the emotional and domestic burden. It's the same logic that says that a man can become whole by having someone else, a woman, fix him. That is not an adult relationship. That is a parent-child relationship.
Ooh.
That's asking a grown woman to parent a grown man. So men are in crisis. Nobody disputes that. But Scott misses the mark. He argues that men need to be providers, that we should stop pathologizing their desire for sex and marriage and children, and that somehow universal childcare will be the biggest help to young men. His entire outlook is just a fantasy about restoring men to the roles that they feel entitled to. And while he laments about all the disaffected men, he conveniently skips over the fact that the systems that could help men already exist.
Boom! They already exist. They already exist. Oh, this is my biggest pet peeve as a solution-based Taurus girly. I hate when the answer is in front of your face and you're like, where is it? Where is it? It's right there. every tool at your disposal, and you're like, can't see it. I'm like, girl.
Trade schools, education grants, mental health support, they're all there. How do we know? Because women are using them. Women are learning trades. They're building blue-collar careers. They're forming community. According to the Center for Construction Research and Training, from 2011 to 2022, the percentage of women in the construction workforce increased from 9% to 11%, with blue-collar women workers overall rising from 2% to 4% of all blue-collar workers. The number of women in blue-collar work has basically doubled in the last decade. And
I feel like when your little sibling comes to you and they're like, hey, bro, my tummy's been hurting, bro. I've been getting major diarrhea. And I'm like, are you still eating that moldy bread in the fridge? And they're like, yeah, bro, with some butter though. But I cut out the mold. I was like, you can't cut out mold from bread. Like, you're going to get a stomach ache. And they're like, no, that can't be it. I was like, it's the moldy bread. And they're like, no. And I'm like, no, that's not moldy bread. And I get it. I'm so empathetic. I understand, girl. Okay, I've been throughout my life eating moldy bread myself. This is a metaphor. Okay, I've been eating moldy bread myself, and I'm like, no, that's not it. But it is it. I promise you, it's the moldy bread. I know you think it's not the moldy bread because the butter is smothering. You know, I get it, but it's the moldy bread. I promise you.
Blue-collar women workers in construction grew almost 3 times faster than blue-collar women workers overall. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to work in these environments as a woman? When women are in these types of traditional male blue-collar jobs, they experience an intense level of harassment. This harassment, of course, is intended to drive women out of those jobs. According to a paper published by Cambridge University about sexual harassment in blue-collar work, a woman who worked in a mine in Minnesota repeatedly found semen on her clothes when she opened her locker. Women are subjected to isolation, dangerous work sabotage, severe verbal abuse, and physical violence. A female police officer in San Francisco had male coworkers that would literally ignore her.
Hold on, pause. Chess says, I disagree that systems that would help men already exist. To be honest, therapy under capitalism, a lot of the times is just systematic gaslighting and they push medication on you. We need to actually grassroots leftist movements like the Black Panthers. Are you white? Be honest with me. Are you a white man? Are you white? Be honest. Be honest. Just tell me. I can't see you, okay? You don't exist. Like, I just need to know. Like, are you white? Yeah, you are a white dude. Okay. Listen, the reason I say this, Habibi, is not because you just sound like a white man. You sound like a white guy who's a liberal, who has a romantic view of the world. And the only reason I say that is because you're doing the same thing that conservatives do when they want to talk about the systems. As a woman, I understand how the medical industry is run under patriarchy and white supremacy and is actually really bad for us. And yet I promote therapy because it does exist. Marginalized communities are giving people therapy and medications are good for you. Not always, but sometimes. You cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. And sometimes I do think with the best intentions possible, people talk shit on therapy as some sort of systematic issue without understanding that marginalized therapists are coming up, they're getting educated, they are showing up, and they absolutely recommend you take your meds. Okay? So again, we have to understand that for some of us, our partners, our loved ones, their lives are being saved by medication every day. And I understand that for some people, right, the system feels like they're just giving us pills. I understand. I fired my first therapist, who by the way was Asian. Okay, I fired my first therapist, who was a woman, because I was like, you are just getting a paycheck from me. But then my second therapist, I don't think I've ever shared this. Fun fact, my therapist had been Asian. My second therapist was also Asian, but she was a little older and she was like Dami Mommy. Okay, she was cool. Now, that's fun fact. I don't know if I ever shared that. Seattle, lots of Asian people, love that. So it's not just that they're women or Asian or minority or whatever. It's why they're there. So the first therapist that I had, I did not feel like she was really seeing me. The second therapist, I felt like she really understood me. I felt like she really wanted me to get better. That is a person problem as well as a system problem, right? Now, when men get therapy, a lot of the time men really struggle to be ready to change. And so until you're ready to change, you won't get better. And yes, maybe if you get a lazy ass psychiatrist or a lazy ass therapist, they might just prescribe you pills, right? But you have to decide as a client, because remember, you're there for your help. This is the joy of capitalism. The one good thing about capitalism is you don't like it, fire them. You don't like it, don't give them your money. Okay? So remember that. Remember, as a patient, you get to look at your therapist and say, with peace and love, this isn't helping me. You don't see me. I need somebody who understands I'm going through something and I need to feel seen, which is why a lot of people recommend you go to a therapist who's like your same, let's say a black patient, black doctor, a white, maybe white unless it's a white supremacist. You don't want to do that. But you know what I mean? They say like, go to somebody you feel like you could identify with who can help you, but understand that they're also people. And so they can be biased and prejudiced. What if you get a black conservative Republican Trump voter? Well, that's probably not going to be helpful, right? So then send a message to your therapist and say, hey, before I see you and pay you a stupid amount of money, what are your values? I need a progressive therapist. I need somebody who's queer related or knows queer people. I need somebody who isn't a conservative. I need somebody who is a conservative, right? You need to just, like, I was very aggressive with my therapist. I was like, I need somebody who's pro-LGBT. I need somebody that understands like marginalized communities. I need somebody who's deconstructed, at least to an extent, because like I can't pay you this much money and not get, you know what I mean? I can't go through what I did the first time with a therapist, because I didn't do this until after that therapist. My first therapist, I didn't do any of this. And that's why I think I ended up getting a bad therapist. It's like, I didn't vet her, versus my second therapist, I vetted, and it was really good. It was really well done, right? So again, you have to be aggressive about what you want, because it's your healthcare, just like your doctors. Guys, fire your doctor. I always personally, I always end up working with women doctors. Though I'm open to working with male doctors, I am. They have to be deconstructed. If I get into an appointment and a man is trying to shame me for any of the medical care I need, fired. If I'm in an appointment with a lady and she's trying to shame me for my medical care, fired. Guys, you can pick your doctors. Be aggressive. There are options. It's hard. It's so hard, but you can do it. I know it's hard. I emailed over 72 therapists, all with my requirement sheets. I understand. Okay. And it's not perfect. Okay. But it's there. Now that therapist I did 6 appointments with before I fired her. I paid her I think it was like $142 a session. 6 of them before I was like, fired. You were not helping me. Okay. So like, again, my second therapist, genius, like fucking transformed my life. You know what I mean? So again, I hear you. I hear this idea of like, I don't know if men have these resources. They do. Under patriarchy and capitalism, men have enough resources to deconstruct because we did it. How did black people do it? How did queer people do it? How did trans people do it? How did women do it? How did we all figure out how to do it under capitalism and patriarchy, and men can't? How did we do it? How did we do it? When the system is against us, how did we figure it out? If we can figure it out, you sure as fuck can figure it out. That's the point. Oh, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. Then what the fuck are we all doing? Working miracles? Again, putting on us the onus of responsibility because somehow we're so much smarter and better than men? Please.
Speak to her, pretend she wasn't there. One day, a fellow officer drove her to a secluded area, pulled a weapon on her, pointed it at her, and said, "I just want to see how fast you women cops can run." Women face intense harassment when in blue-collar jobs, and still, the number of women in blue-collar work doubled from 2011 to 2022. In spite of that, there's still a lot of women that want to do these jobs. Men aren't in crisis because there are no opportunities available. They are in crisis because they think those opportunities are beneath them. According to research on male labor force participation from the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, male workers who formerly worked in manufacturing don't want jobs in the sectors of the economy that are growing, like healthcare and other service industries, because the pay is lower and the occupations are often female-dominated. Men see these industries, these jobs, as...
Hold on, chat. I'm going to block you. You said you didn't. There was a global system-wide push to get women into higher education. There are billions of dollars spent directly from the government getting women to higher education. I will block you. Are you saying that men haven't had those opportunities this whole fucking time? That men still could dominate the education space if they didn't think colleges were a liberal, progressive bullshit space? How many of male leaders right now are telling men not to go to college? How many of them are telling you that if you want to be a smart, independent thinker, don't go to college? And women are like, hey, you guys are literally crazy. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? God forbid I even tell a man to read a book before he gets defensive. The moment women started going to college, men were like, ew, gross, women do this. I don't want to do it anymore. Okay? I will literally block you. Don't piss me off. Don't piss me off.
Feminized. And by the way, the pay is lower in these jobs precisely because they are female dominated. Because pay drops when professions move from predominantly male to predominantly female.
Oh,
and then
listen to that. Listen to that.
Female dominated. Because pay drops when professions move from predominantly...
And did you see what the Trump administration is doing with nursing now? They're making nursing not a professional career. Oh, yeah. this is an attack on women and women's fields. And what's worse, you know how many men were made fun of for being nurses? Oh, you're a man and you're a nurse? Loser. As if nursing is just for women. It's like, hello? Come on now. Tess says, yes, Brittany, there are far more systems and grants set up to help young women, not to mention education has female bias. It's female dominated. Boys are suspended more on average for the same action. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and block you. So listen, not today, girls, not today. Boys are suspended at higher rates because violence is often occurring in action. Women are trained under patriarchy to follow rules and not ask questions. Men are mostly given benefits of doubts when they even act out. Like, you're acting like the boys who aren't being suspended or given detention at like a higher rate aren't also enacting or using violence as a means of expression, right? They're not just boys who are speaking up. Those boys get stars, okay? And girls are literally taught not to do that. So like, again, this is a huge generalization, but do not act like boys are not getting arrested at higher rates because they're also 91% of domestic violence is committed by men, right? Don't act like violence in general isn't a man's pastime. It is literally a hobby for you guys. Your hobbies are hunting, fighting, jiu-jitsu, literally like firing arrows at shit, paintball. Like your literal hobbies are like mimicking war. Hello? So like, again, when we have conversations about this, you are literally being you are in one side, like now that women are getting some traction, we're like, you guys don't even want to be a part of it. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started today. Don't even get me started.
Male to predominantly female, and then pay increases when men move into predominantly female industries. In short, if a woman does a job, it's likely to be lower paid for no other reason that women's work is consistently undervalued. We got women out here becoming plumbers, engineers, coders, and mechanics. Women are...
But they're not dominating because there's still a whole lot of discrimination they have to face through this. Amber just died because her coworker didn't like her there, and he bludgeoned her with a sledgehammer at the beginning of their work shift. Okay? So like, what are we talking about? You're acting like women are like fully without discrimination invited into these fields. Men put their whole, men love to complain about how I do construction and it's hard on my body. Yeah, but you also talk shit about people who work in offices. It's all about hierarchy. We're all judging each other based off hierarchy. Well, YouTube is not a real job. You know what a real job is? Construction. Okay, guys, it's all a job. Well, that's not a real job. That's McDonald's. McDonald's isn't a real job. You know what's a real job? Coding. Oh, coding is not a real job. You know what a real job is? It's like, guys, fucking shut up. All jobs are good jobs are jobs. You act like we're not all petty little adults all judging each other about what real labor is. You don't even have a job. You're a stay-at-home mom. What do you do all day? Have you seen this new trend of men getting on the internet and being the stay-at-home dad for the day? And they're like, what do women do all day? This is so easy. This is so easy. I'm sick of all of you.
Building new identities in new labor markets. Meanwhile, men are opting out, not because they're being shut out, but because they don't want jobs coded as feminine.
Exactly, 100%.
All a job needs in order to be coded as feminine is the presence of too many women. This is not about men's access. This is about men's identity. So instead of pulling out the diseased roots of patriarchy, Scott Galloway wants us to water the same toxic soil and just, hope for better fruit next time. Give me a fucking break. And no, the problem isn't porn either. He blames AI girlfriends and online adult content for the deterioration of men's connection.
That's just a symptom of a lack of philosophical extrospection. Look, if you have a literal relationship with an AI model, we have to have conversations about that. But that is like a symptom of something greater. The same thing with not having family ties, or the same men that used to complain to me. I used to do calls with people, and there was a man who would consistently complain to me that he has to spend holidays with his family because they're so judgmental. And I was like, hey, why don't you just spend holidays with people you actually want to see? And he's like, I have to go. My mom makes me. And I was like, aren't you almost 40 years old? And he was like, yeah, but if I don't show up, she's going to bitch at me all the time. And I was like, what? And I was like, well, why don't you just spend holidays at your own place? Don't you have your own place? And they're like, yeah, but my place is built, his place only existed because his parents had land that they let him build a house on. So the same mom, the same family you talk shit about being was the same reason you had land to build a house on. Do you know what I'm saying? Why'd you build your house there? Oh, well, I had no other options. So now you know what it's like to be put in a hard economical situation. This is a person who voted for Trump, by the way, of course. Do you know what I mean? So the same family that gave you even a place to even have a chance of home ownership is also the same family you don't want to spend time with, but also you refuse to go spend time with anyone else because you want to spend time with them. So you won't put down boundaries. You won't be grateful. You also won't stop talking to them because you know there's an incentive. So you use them, they use you, and then they're the bad guy and you're not. See how you guys are using each other? There is a using happening here. My mom and dad have 5 acres. And my mom always said, let's build a house down the hill for you. And I said, no, thank you. And she said, why? And I was like, because I'm never going to be free living on your land. And she said, oh, that's true. If I found out you were doing something in that house that I thought was unethical, I would kick you out. And I was like, exactly. I would never utilize my mother's land because I know the consequences. But the fact that he did it and had the audacity to complain, that's the problem. Like, it's her land. She bought it. My parents bought their property. They were giving me the option, but see how there were strings attached? No, thank you. But that's the thing. It wasn't my land anyway, so I wasn't entitled to it. I never thought about it that way. So, like, who cares? Why would I build my house there, right? It doesn't make sense. But these men keep thinking, well, when my parents die, when my parents die. So all you're thinking about is your parents' death. And I'm not. I'm thinking about my parents' life. My parents, God willing, have 30 more years of life. But see how they're all just thinking about when my parents die, when my parents die? Gross.
To real women. And sure, these things have not helped. They have made the problem far worse. But Scott Galloway refuses to confront the root cause. He talks about adult content without interrogating the deeper issue, which is that men have always been socialized to see women as tools for their own satisfaction and self-development. And they bring this framework with them when they consume porn. The porn itself isn't the problem. The problem is that this content was introduced to a population that was already lacking in emotional regulation, had little to no access to comprehensive sex education, and is brimming with entitlement. It's not what porn is doing to men. It's what men are doing with porn that reveals the real problem. They are simply mirroring the same behavior they exhibit with real life women. The diabolical shit they do with 2-dimensional women is the same diabolical shit they do with 3-dimensional women. One of Galloway's core arguments is that men need...
Actually, chat, I hear you talking about like POC men and get the intersectionality conversation gets neglected in patriarchy. And that's why I also cautioned the therapy comment you made earlier, because Black men need therapy. Brown men need therapy. Assyrian men need therapy. And so when you add to their narrative, the conservative narrative, because a lot of us come from conservative backgrounds, that therapy is just a pill pushing mechanism to like control men and their feelings. Our brothers don't go to therapy. The men in our life aren't going to therapy. I'm trying so hard to get the men in my life in therapy, but they all just think what you think, or at least what you implied in your comment, that therapy is just a mechanism to get people on pills and they don't care about you. And so, yeah, if you want to be intersectional about it, then we need to get men into therapy. We need to get them into the right therapy with the right therapists, with people who've deconstructed, because our communities are suffering. So I agree with you, but that's why I am like, don't talk bad about therapy. Our brothers and fathers need therapy, and they need to stop going to priests for their therapy. They need to go to medical professionals who study this and are interested in helping them. You know what I mean? And that's why I like Dr. Kirkhonda, and that's why I like Dr. K, because they're both like Asian men who are in the sphere, who understand boys, and who are also trying to help in different ways. Like Dr. K especially, like he understands how desperately men need therapy, and like talking bad about therapy as like just this mechanism that pushes pills on people is not helping. It's not actually healing the wounds of patriarchy left in our brothers and fathers, you know?
Relationships as guardrails. That means that, like most men, he also sees women as tools, emotional safety nets, unpaid therapists, personal assistants for the male psyche. I think he thinks he's a good guy who genuinely wants to help, but he doesn't. This man is a college professor. He's a successful businessman. He should be smart enough to understand.
That's the problem. Scott Galloway is a capitalist. He is a businessman. That's exactly the reason why he's a problem.
That you can't solve a crisis that was created by a system, patriarchy, without confronting and dismantling the system itself, which is something that he is not willing to do. In that sense, he's kind of telling on himself, you know?
Scott Galloway is not an expert on gender. He's an expert in marketing.
Thank
you.
So
it should be no surprise that he is great at getting attention. He's great at sounding.
It's so purposeful. It's so disgusting. That's what I said. He is purposely trying to be Jordan Peterson. He is specifically trying to be remember how Jordan Peterson made millions doing his little I want to help men thing, which I think actually would have been, to be honest, gun to my head, I think Jordan Peterson was authentic. I think Scott Galloway isn't. I think Scott Galloway saw what Peterson did and how much money he made and went, I could do that. I do. I fully believe that. I fully believe that Jordan Peterson drove himself crazy because he's fighting demons that are his own. And I have issues with Peterson, you know. Ethan, if only these men, what are going to do without all these men? Like, I get it. But Scott Galloway, I think, is a full fucking marketing, capitalistic Snake, bro.
Like he's an expert in the field of gender studies, which he is not. He's great at marketing, making ideas sound salient so that you buy whatever he is selling. What is he selling now? A book.
Yep.
What is the book about? The male loneliness epidemic. It doesn't mean that he has actually good ideas about how to fix it. He's also a capitalist. So guess what his ideas of what men should do to fix their problems are? Make more money, buy into the capitalist system. Just remember, the man Scott Galloway is a capitalist, and he is a marketer.
I don't think he's trying to solve a problem. I think he's trying to sell books.
Yes,
He's
amen, amen, amen.
found a nice viral niche that can provide an additional income stream for him, get him invitations to all the popular talk shows and podcasts, and keep his name relevant in the zeitgeist. And he's running with it. His solutions will keep men stuck while shifting the cost of their stagnation onto the backs of women. If the only way for a man to be stable, kind, or whole is to be in a relationship with a woman, then he is not stable, kind, or whole. He's codependent. And any relationship with that man won't be a partnership. It will just be more unpaid labor for a woman to do to take care of another adult. So no, we don't need women to marry these broken men in order to save them. We need men to not be broken to begin with. We need men to do the work, to stop using women as a crutch for their psychological dysfunction. We need to stop pretending that emotional security is some gift that can only be bestowed upon men by women.
Exactly. Now, chat says, I don't agree with that. I think Scott is authentic, but he has succeeded at the game of capitalism and thinks it's the only way. Maybe Scott is so good at capitalism, he's like, this is the answer for men. I don't know. I'm not getting good vibes. Again, people are always like, Brittany, do you like Scott Galloway? I just cannot trust anything he says. I see him on pod, I see him on videos, and I just feel like maybe it is the capitalism that's making me go I don't think so, bro. But it's hard for me to see him as authentic. But maybe it's also the way he brands himself, Jordan feels authentic, but also insane to me. Do you know what I'm saying? He feels sick to me. Hey, are you okay, bro? You need to go get off the internet, which I think he is Jordan still in the hospital? I think he's still off the internet right now. Scott Galloway felt like an opportunist to me, but that's so capitalistic of him. What's more capitalist than being an opportunist?
And that it's women's responsibility to gift these men with maturity, no matter how much those women have to suffer. Scott Galloway's advice.
Wait. Chad says, oh my gosh, yes, I'm worried for him. I'm not worried for Jordan Peterson. Are you talking about Jordan? You said, I wonder if he's still in the hospital. Oh, I'm not worried about him, girl. He's just another soul who's going to leave this earth at his own timely, in his own timely manner. I am not concerned about him. To make it clear, I just think it's interesting that this man who's, quote, been promoting health and been promoting things is also a man who's consistently sick and unwell. And a part of me is are you also encouraging people to have unwell diets, unwell relationships with things? You know what I mean? That's what you know what I'm saying, right? It's very interesting, but it's like Charlie Kirk. I'm not sad Charlie Kirk died, but also I feel bad for all the people Charlie Kirk impacted negatively. You know what I mean? We're all going to die. So it's a bummer if Jordan dies, but also what I'm worried about is his legacy. Because I think it's going to get more people killed.
Is dangerous. It thinks that romantic relationships exist for men's benefit, but they are ultimately women's responsibility. It thinks that women are here to civilize men, to help them grow up, to help make them whole.
My mom believed in this bullshit. My mom goes, women are so much smarter, Betsy. We have to keep men, from being tempted. We're so much smarter than men. And I was like, if we're so much smarter than men, then why the fuck are they in charge? Oh, well, women and men all have their own role.
He doesn't want to undo women's progress, but yet he still expects women to serve men. He never asks the truly important questions, like, why is it that women are able to function on their own outside of a romantic relationship without becoming a menace to society? Meanwhile, why are there so many codependent, fucked up men? Oh, no.
Even Jordan Peterson's if men don't get partnered, they turn basically into school shooters. Why? Why do you guys all become violent? Because you're not partnered and women just own cats. So when people are literally people will come into my comment sections and be enjoy being single with your 59 cats. And I was like, okay, first of all, don't threaten me with a good time. Okay. Second of all, it's they ignore the fact that I'm literally married, but also third of all, don't threaten me with a good time.
Scott Galloway, the problem is that not enough women are willing to sign up for a lifetime of mankeeping. He wants women to form relationships with men that need a woman in order to function. But women who seek heterosexual relationships, they want partnership, and that ain't it. A man who needs a woman to regulate his emotions and motivate him to establish a stable career is not a safe or stable partner. He's a codependent nightmare that will ruin that woman's life. In those situations, he's also more...
Actually, I want to say something that might sound like a tangent, but stay with me here. One of the reasons why I think a lot of bisexual, pansexual women end up with men is because they don't have to be worried that the man is just with them because they're settling, because a lot of the time they do have more options, versus you meet one gay girl in your like sphere and it's like a miracle that you even like each other, let alone are attracted to each other, let alone want to date. So a lot of gay girls, especially lesbians, who are U-hauling themselves into relationships, you don't even like her, girl. You just like that she's gay, and for once in your life, you get to have a gay relationship. Let's be real, until these numbers all come out and people are all honest about with how gay they are, a lot of us are settling into relationships because they're the only ones available. And this goes for men, women, proximity, gay, queer, lesbian, whatever. Like, we all need to be honest that we are all settling for relationships. And that's why I say, even when I was single and I was dating like crazy, people were just like, you know, you're meeting all these girls, you're meeting all these boys, they, them, we're all having fun. Why don't you like them enough to date them? I was like, these aren't my people. I know this isn't my person. Like, I know what I'm looking for. It's like, yeah, if I wanted to just settle because of proximity, I would. But that's the problem. All of our communities are dying because, like, emotionally, because we keep settling for relationships, and including friendships, guys. Oh my God, my Discord sent me another Chelsea Fagan video. A reminder that your friendships are like romantic relationships. You guys keep making friends with people that ditch you when you get sick, because it like you're dating the boy who only wants you for like a summer girlfriend and you think you're going to marry him. Guys, friends are also like boyfriends. You have to vet them, and you have to ask, like, do you want to date me long term, or is this like temporary for the summer? Are we friends just because we have a hobby together? Or are we friends because we want to like take it outside of this thing we do together? Like, your friends ditching you when you're sick, that was just because they weren't close friends or lifelong friends. You can call them a bad friend, but I think you're a bad friend for assuming all of your friends are going to be the friends who are there for you when you're sick. Because, like, I don't want all my friends there for me when I'm sick. Some of my friends, I'm not even going to tell I'm sick. Oh, and this goes back to this huge question I want to ask you guys. Well, as a YouTuber, I have to think about this. If I get cancer and I'm dying, let's say I'm dying from cancer, who do I tell first before I tell the internet? Who in my personal life do I call first to tell them privately before I tell the internet? Which one of my friends is going to say, I can't believe I learned you had cancer and we're dying from the internet? And would I even tell the internet? Would I even tell you guys? Should I tell you guys? I think about this all the time, because I overshare here on the internet all the time. But like, do I want to tell you I'm dying? Or do I just want to put out a video that says, hey guys, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry, but I'm dead. It's okay, queens. All is good, bro. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it. I know it's coming out left field. Do I have the right to privacy? Should I tell you? You know, like, who is the person I'm supposed to call and tell before I die? And then that's the question too, right? Like, 'cause how many of my friends am I supposed to do the emotional? Also, when I got sick with fibro, I learned that some of my closest people could not handle that I was sick. Some of the closest people to me made it about them. Two people in particular were literally like, hey, I really need you to do emotional labor for me because my friend is sick right now and I can't handle it. And I was like, no, you have a girlfriend, go talk to her. You have friends, go talk to them. And I was like, I'm tired. I can't even get myself to the bathroom. And you want me to sit here and like be your, I can't do that for you right now. I'm not well, I'm sick. And they go, I know, I'm scared. I'm scared I'm going to lose my friend. I was like, I feel you. Can you go talk to somebody else about it, please? And like, it was a really weird situation where it's like, hello, I'm the one who's, you know, it was really difficult. And that's why I was like, yeah, like with peace and love, like when I think about being sick again, if I'm ever that sick again, where I feel like, hey, I'm like really sick, I'm going to think about very carefully who I even tell. Because it definitely became like everybody else wanted to be like, everyone wanted to make it about them, which was fine. Not literally, but a lot of people were supportive. But the people who did, or the people who were unhelpful for me when I was sick, when I was like asking them very pointed questions because I was trying to figure stuff out, and they would like they would want to give me their own opinion on the medical stuff. I was like, no, don't tell me your opinion. I'm asking you a question. Do you know what I mean? It was very annoying. So, okay. That's this whole idea about intimacy and relationship. You know how they say like men die alone because men don't have community? You have to build that community. Women do not have community because they're women. Women do not have community because they were born women. Women do not have community because we were born women. Women have community because they put in the effort for community. They put in the spoons. They do the labor. Women aren't given community because they're women. There wasn't a committee that was like, you're a woman, here's your community. We build communities. We maintain communities. Okay, we call people on their birthdays. We fucking send postcards. We reach out. Okay? This illusion that like women were just given community because they're women. No, homie. We have to work and maintain it. And it's incredible work to maintain a community, by the way. Yes, we work our 60 hours a week and then we still maintain community. It's fucking work.
Are likely to be abusive because his ego can't handle a relationship with a successful, self-sufficient woman. For a man who hasn't deconstructed patriarchy, his whole concept of his masculinity is rooted in domination. He needs to be needed so that he can control that woman. Scott Galloway wants women to carry the weight of male dysfunction. He wants women to fix what patriarchy broke with more patriarchy. We cannot fix this so-called crisis of masculinity by continuing to assign more labor to women. And we definitely can't fix it by romanticizing outdated gender roles. I mean, come on, man.
Come on.
If masculinity is a type of house, right? And that type of house always ends up somehow catching on fire, the solution isn't to build those houses in exactly the same way you did before and then ask a woman just to make sure it doesn't catch fire again.
Exactly.
The solution is for men to build something new instead. And to do it without using women as scaffolding. Because until men can build themselves, build community on their own, until they can do that, none of this will change.
Okay, 100. Hold on. I see. Thank you, girl. Okay, relax. Okay. What's the reality? Okay, that's my... Listen. Okay, love... Hold on, let's go find her again because I just realized I closed that window. Hold on. This is Therese. I just found her channel. I'm definitely subscribing. See, one video I loved, subscribing. I'm hooked. Okay, here's the video. I'm gonna like it. See? Sometimes I watch a video and I'm like, I'm not bought on this person. And then I see a video and I'm like, I'm sold. Whatever this is, I'm sold. I'm gonna watch more of her videos. Okay, loved it. I think she did a great job. I think she just said everything that I was thinking about Scott Galloway. And also, again, I know men are suffering. I don't think that's no one is saying men aren't suffering. We've been saying y'all have been suffering for years. We're saying if you don't want to do any of the things we did to counter our suffering, you will stay suffering. And it is not our job to give you it perfectly packaged in a way you can consume because, again, that's not how life works. You're so Zuko book 1. You're so angry and you're throwing tantrums and you're like, why aren't I catching the avatar? Because you're not actually doing it for the right reason. You're choosing a path that wasn't even for you. The Fire Lord paved it for you. And we are Uncle Iroh telling you, like, is this your destiny or is it somebody else's? Find your destiny, but please know it is not capturing the avatar. Okay? Seriously, they're all throwing tantrums like they're Prince Zuko over here. And we're like, not a vibe, bro. And you're like, what the fuck? Why don't people like me? Because you're literally annoying to be around. Please figure it out. Okay, go to therapy. Thank you. Go to therapy, do your work, meditate, philosophical work. Let's go.